To thank everyone for their work over the last year, particularly the key workers, the nurses, the doctors, the train and the bus drivers, the teachers, the supermarket workers, the cleaners and more. I've even thanked the First Minister from time to time. But today I also want to thank the amazing staff in this Parliament who have worked so hard to adapt and to keep our democratic process running through this crisis. But, Presiding Officer, we've had a glimpse in the last 48 hours at Dover of what happens when you break an economic partnership. Yet the First Minister wants to repeat the same mistakes by this time next year with her referendum. I know that Christmas is a time for sequels, but we have now seen what Brexit 1 is like. Yet the First Minister still wants Brexit 2, the breakup of another economic union. Why does the First Minister want another breakup by next Christmas?
First Minister.
Firstly, on a note of Christmas cheer, which I'm going to try to maintain for as long as I can today, Presiding Officer, can I echo Willie Rennie, at least on the point of thanking many people, but thanking the staff in this Parliament who've done a fantastic job in difficult circumstances, and we're all deeply grateful to them. They don't always get thanked, but can I also thank the civil servants who work and support the government, who've also done a fantastic job in very difficult circumstances. Of course, what I would say to Willie Rennie is this: the only reason right now we are faced with the prospect of a no-deal Brexit in Scotland is because we are not independent, and it has been foisted upon us against our will. Independence is not the same as Brexit. Independence would see Scotland joining other independent countries in the European Union, working together where we need to, including on matters like COVID, and charting our own future. And that prospect of charting our own future, being responsible, yes, at times for our own mistakes, but building our own success and prosperity, instead of having our future foisted upon us by the likes of Boris Johnson and his band of Brexiteers. It's that positive prospect of being in charge of our own future, Presiding Officer, that sees now a sustained majority of the Scottish population supporting Scotland becoming a normal, equal, independent country.
Willie Rennie.
But at the weekend, the First Minister said it would be unconscionable to carry on with Brexit in the middle of a global pandemic, oblivious to the irony that she plans to hold an independence referendum in the middle of a global pandemic. I want the crisis to stop. Her plans would add to it. I think we should put the recovery first. The young people who need work, the businesses who are on their knees, the climate, which is in a state of emergency, the people waiting ages for mental health treatment, and the pupils who deserve a better education. We need to put them first. Now, I know the First Minister has supported independence all of her political life, but holding an independence referendum now, in the midst of one of the worst health and economic crises this country has ever seen, is not the right thing to do. Surely she can see that.
First Minister.
Actually, I've worked out what Willie Rennie is up to today. He's realised that people are really missing pantomimes, so he's decided to provide one all of his own. It's actually a public service. Where to start? Firstly, let us not lose the irony of this situation, because actually the Liberal Democrats are now a pro-Brexit party. They've actually given up on their opposition to Brexit. I still think Brexit is a mistake. Secondly, and I'm sure it hasn't escaped Willie Rennie's notice, I'm not planning an independence referendum right now. In fact, I put planning for an independence referendum on hold when the global pandemic struck. If only Boris Johnson had put planning for Brexit on hold when the global pandemic struck. I'm not planning to have a referendum while we're in the midst of a global pandemic, because my focus is on leading the country through the pandemic. But do you know what? As we start to recover from this pandemic, as all of us across the world start to ask ourselves, what kind of countries, what kind of societies do we want to live in? I want the people of Scotland to be in charge of answering that question, not the likes of Boris Johnson. That's why becoming an independent country is so essential to making sure we build the Scotland we know is possible as we come out of this COVID crisis.
Question number